In about a week from now, we're going to get the Annihilation Raid Omega, which is going to give us better access to Gear Tier 20, which makes sense because Purple, ISO 4 and 5 are the latest and greatest in the chase currently for Blue Marvel, where Gear Tier 20 was the chase for Professor X. So it makes sense, and this is the way it works here in Marvel Strike Force. They incrementally and slowly over time give us better access to those pieces, whatever it is at the time for the latest and greatest. So that is what's going to be happening here in about a week. We'll have to see how much better access that is. I don't know why that's on my screen. Let's move on. Also, Zombie Kestrel came to the game, and I think there are two ways to put ISO 8 on her. I personally did Raider because there's a lot of stuff in her passive related to crit. You could also make the case for Striker because of the bleeds. Now, this will apply additional bleeds with the ISO 8 attack. And also worth noting is that the bleeds that she applies will do more damage if one uses the Striker ISO. I'm still going Raider for now. I think that's what I'm going to do is Raider. It seems to make a lot of sense to me. Also, there is a portrait if you're into those type of things. Actually, for the very first time, I actually put the Scarlet Witch portrait up. I kind of not really a big fan of portraits, but I like that one. Now, this particular portrait in game, which a lot of people think is outrageous, $15. I think it's outrageous. But on the web store, it's lower. It's $10 essentially. Also, this was something that was at the request of the player base, is that there were these $3 offers that had some of the zombies in them and had 2,000 power cores. However, these offers were not showing up if you had the character at 7 yellow. So for like myself, the only one that showed up was for a zombie Scarlet Witch. So I bought that and I got the 2,000 power cores. A lot of people wanted to buy these just for the power cores. So those have been added to the store. If you want to pick up 2,000 power cores for $3, that option is made available to you. Also, there are some additional ways to access Kestrel Zombie. Join the Undying and Marvel Strike Force special web deal. Be sure to check out the web store for special deals such as 225 shards and 1 diamond for Kestrel Zombie. Now, earn Kestrel Zombie shards in the Amassed Horde in-game. A free login calendar starts tomorrow where you can earn 15 Kestrel Zombie shards along with shards for the rest of the Undying teams. There's also, you can farm shards, you can sim it with, you can refresh and do the 50s. And I'm going to be doing that because I also need Zombie Scarlet Witch in addition to Kestrel. I feel like I'm going to do that a little bit today. I don't want to go over the 50s. I'm not going to refresh the nodes, but I'm going to refresh the energy and do as many of them as I can. I think that's okay. No way of coring Zombie Kestrel. There's no orb. Not going to be able to do at the 675 to open up an orb and power cores. That's not going to happen. But as far as unlocking the character for money, there is a 2-star unlock on the web, and you can take a look at that. And it was lower than $50. My recollection is it was $30, which for me seemed okay. I'm okay with it. Now let's talk about the new raid changes and access to Gear Tier 20. Increase your Gear Tier 20 supplies with the new Annihilation Omega Raid. The raid is teaming with determined enemies, but you'll take home more rewards for your efforts. Here's how the Mega Raid works. Uses the same Annihilation Raid energy. Rewards are based on alliance completion percentage. Possesses the additional difficulty 10, which requires the new Immortal Weapons team. So if you go in game right now, the reworks for Iron Fist and Iron Fist WW2 have been updated. So I saw the power levels jump up significantly. Now, Iron Fist is skill. He does have the Mystic tag, but his gear that he requires is skill. However, the other 4 members of the team are Mystic, and this is back-to-back with the Undying team. So if you're like me, having better access or more access, and I'm sure it's not huge, to Gear Tier 20 is welcome because there's a severe shortage of that type of gear because we got 2 teams back to back. And I also need to spend off my antimatter before that store disappears. Here we got the 6 lanes. We're not going to get into that, but we're going to go over the grid that shows the restrictions on like difficulty 10 and all that. Put your top squads on high alert because you'll need major firepower to brave the enemies that await in Omega. Purple ISO 8 requirements won't increase for Omega, so there's no need to upgrade to level 4 and level 5 purple ISO 8 for this raid. Here's a rundown of traits. Now, one of the big questions that's asked me almost every day is, am I going to put out recommendations for level 4 and level 5? I'm hesitant in doing that, even though the structure for Brew Marvel is different than that in Professor X. But I think that there was a lesson learned with Professor X. The developers have suggested, I don't know if it made it in game, but I know it was in the data mine for sure, the recommendation to upgrade Old Man Logan. And that turned to be a major disaster because Old Man Logan struggled on the Shadow King boss. And I don't want to put anybody in a situation where they waste valuable resources on purple level 4 and purple level 5. So I'm not wanting or willing to do that until it's in the game and the top tippity top spenders of the game have gone through that first, and then I will promptly make videos about that because they're going to be upgrading many more characters and they're going to be able to spend their way 4 and 5, where that is going to be an extremely scarce resource. Now, the difference between the Blue Marvel is that it's going to be more of a Dark Dimension style. So incremental progress can be made slowly over time, as opposed to the way that it was done with Professor X, where you had to 3-star the nodes. So in that situation, it really was potentially a tremendous drain on resources and would set one back quite a bit of time, where this is more like a traditional Dark Dimension in that you can make a little bit of progress slowly over time. And if one makes a bad choice, well, then it'll just take longer, right? And they've kind of avoided like the negative progression like they had when Dark Dimension 3 was released back in the day. One of the most frustrating experiences that I've had in Marvel Strike Force. So here's the thing. We've got the new Omega 10 nodes. The boss node has no restriction in any difficulty. Difficulty 8 through 10 are largely the same with the exception of the Mystic section. So Vigilante, Uncanny, Hellfire, Thunderbolts, Insidious 6, Shocker, and Vulture. And then on difficulty 8 and 9, it'll be Immortal Weapons or Not Stalkers, but difficulty 10 is going to require the full Immortal Weapons team, which is not in the game yet. The only 2 members that we have in the game are going to be the Iron Fist World War II and the regular Iron Fist. Now, this is worth noting right here. As you can see, all nodes are required in Omega to achieve 100% completion. There are 2 new nodes for the Mystic section. On difficulty 10, Immortal Weapons are required to complete the raid. Remember that you cannot scale down your difficulty on individual nodes with the Mega Raid, so work with your Alliance leader to coordinate which difficulty you want to try. I think that's going to be important. Now, they are updating the Annihilation 2 raids in slight ways. Also heading your way are a couple of minor updates to the Annihilation 2 raids. The Mystic node is moving to the end of the lane, which is a good thing, right before the bonus nodes. Night Stalker missions will now allow for Immortal Weapons trait. Makes sense. Immortal Weapons are completely optional for Annihilation 2. So don't worry if you haven't unlocked them. The updates will allow you to deploy this powerful new team when you're ready. Here how the traits look by difficulty. We're going to skip right to 8 and 9. Vigilante, Uncanny, Thunderbolts, Hellfire, Insidious 6 plus Shocker, Vulture, Immortal Weapons or Night Stalker, Hellfire, and then on the last bonus node. So 7 and 8 are bonus nodes, and that is going to be the Insidious 6, Shocker, and Vulture. And then the boss node, again, has no restrictions. So, in conclusion, raid updates and Omega Raid goes live on November 7th. Power up your squads to tackle the Mega Raid to earn even more Gear Tier 20 pieces. Any further future higher access to gear tier 20 is welcomed. Specifically right now, I'm starting to feel it on the Mystic. Now this guy's skill, but the other 4 are going to be Mystic. You know, Iron Fist and the 3 new characters. You know, so is Zombie Kestrel. So, well, Zombie Kestrel's bio. Never mind. But we had some other ones recently, you know, that I took up. But anyways, I'm running into a shortage of that for sure. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye for now.